Alright, good afternoon everyone. Xin chào quý đồng hương, quý cử tri, nhất là cử tri trong quận hạt Santa Clara. Hôm nay chúng ta có mời được anh Daniel Chung để tới đây nói chuyện với chúng ta để tìm hiểu về cái vị candidate này. Anh ta sẽ run cho chức vụ là mình đọc tiếng Việt gọi là District Attorney. I can't even translate it to Vietnamese myself. Being Lý, it's just it's really higher title in Vietnamese, but Vietnamese people actually can't translate this pretty accurately. So chúng ta mời anh tới đây để mình tìm hiểu về anh ta là District Attorney làm gì, và chúng ta có một sự lựa chọn cho nó đúng để mà giúp đỡ chúng ta cải thiện đời sống của chúng ta. Thank you for coming. Please introduce yourself and your background to our audience.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Daniel Chung. I'm a career prosecutor. I grew up in Santa Clara County. I grew up in Milpitas for most of my life. Went to public schools and private schools in the area. My mom, she was a single mother. She raised me because my father committed suicide when I was 8 years old. So she raised me by herself with my maternal grandmother. And then financial aid and teaching jobs enabled me to go to Harvard College and Columbia Law School. Okay. And I spent several years out on the East Coast. I started working as a prosecutor in New York City first, focusing on gun crimes over there. And then I came back here to Santa Clara County, worked as a prosecutor here also, focused on domestic violence, violent felonies. In 2020, DA Rosen gave me an award for being one of his best trial prosecutors. In 1 year, I did 10 domestic violence jury trials, one of the most difficult types of jury trials to do, and won 9 of them. So I'm very intimately familiar with violent crimes. That's kind of my specialty. And I'm running for Santa Clara County District Attorney now.
All right.
And thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for taking your time to speaking to us.
Yeah.
What is the really a district attorney, your responsibility?
Yeah.
Explain to us in a little bit detail so we can understand your role as a district attorney.
Sure. So the district attorney is an elected position,
okay,
and it's the chief law enforcement officer in the county.
Okay.
So it's the top cop in our county, and their main job is to prosecute crimes. So when crimes happen, usually the police first respond to those crimes and investigate those crimes, and then they bring their reports to the district attorney. And the district attorney needs to look at all of the facts and the evidence and what happened and figure out, is this a case where we should charge someone with a crime? Okay. And the DA and all of his other deputy district attorneys look at these cases and evaluate, should we charge individuals? And if so, we prosecute those cases all the way to jury trial if necessary. A lot of cases resolve with plea deals, but our job is to figure out, how should we prosecute these cases to the best of our ability.
Explain plea deal a little bit so people can understand.
Yeah, so plea bargaining is basically a compromise that is reached between parties. So as people know, the court system is very busy and lots of cases, thousands of cases. Sometimes it takes years to resolve cases. Okay. So sometimes when both parties, when the prosecutor and the defense attorney has all of the facts, and they know this is what the evidence is, right? And this is what the jury is going to hear. Sometimes they'll say, let's not go to jury trial because we know what's going to happen at jury trial. Let's try to make a deal, okay, right? So you give a little bit, I give a little bit, he's going to admit his guilt, and let's figure out a way where we could reach an agreement. And that's how most criminal cases resolve. Over 90% of them are via plea deal, because we don't have enough courts to do 1,000 jury trials every single day. I would love it if we did, but we don't have those resources. So it's just a measure of, everybody having the same information and realizing, what, we need to reach an agreement because
and move on with our lives.
Yes, move on with our lives. Admit your guilt. Protect victims, make sure that they're repaid for any damages or harm that they incurred, and both parties can move on with their lives.
Okay, good. Currently, what is your view of the state of the county of Santa Clara and San Jose, one of the big, I think the big city in the county.
Yeah.
What is your point of view right now?
So what I always ask people is, ask yourself this question. Do you feel safer today than you did 4 years ago, 8 years ago, 12 years ago? Mm-hmm. And the answer is a resounding no. Because crime has gone up. Property crime, violent crime, including in San Jose. San Jose is the capital. Just to give you some statistics, if you compare the second half of 2020 versus the second half of 2021, just in San Jose, robberies went up by 20%. Rape went up by 30%.
Oh, we have problems.
These are staggering statistics, right? And so there is a serious problem with crime. And, you know, I understand that the system is sometimes unfair. There is racism in the system, and we need to do better, right? We need to make sure that if you're accused of a crime, you're treated fairly, right? And you're not treated violently by the police either, right? However, victims also have rights. Victims should not have to put up with property crime or violent crime simply because the pendulum is swinging one way or the other. I think what we need in our justice system is balance, right? Let's figure out how can we do things better for defendants and how can we do things better for victims. And I think we're failing right now and we need to do a lot better.
I agree with the word failing.
Yeah.
We have not been doing really well.
Yeah.
We see a lot of problems, but we come back to those questions later.
Yeah.
Now the question is, you see the issue we have, our problem we have, what platform, what plan do you have to improve or make changes to the county itself and of course the city of San Jose?
Yeah, so I have 3 priorities. One is public safety. I think the number one job of a prosecutor is to figure out how do we improve public safety. Number 2 is let's protect victims' rights. Let's make sure that victims are heard, that they're protected, and that we pursue justice in a speedy manner for them. Right now, in the current system, about 7 to 8 different prosecutors will handle a case over 2 to 3 years before victims see justice. It's like an assembly line where I do one task and then just throw it to you, and you do a second task, and then you throw it to another person and they do a third task. And that's just unacceptable. If you're a victim, you don't even know who your prosecutor is anymore. So I want to protect victims' rights. That's number 2. And number 3 is some systemic changes. For example, charging needs to be changed in our county. We need to have clear training and standards. And one of the examples I give people is, can you imagine if you went to a hospital where doctors and nurses had never received any training in how to diagnose patients? That would be insane. People would be like, what? You don't even know how to diagnose me? You don't even take notes? You don't even input things into the system? That's what's going on in Santa Clara County DA's office. When prosecutors start in the office, they are not trained. They don't get calibrated. They have no idea how to charge cases. And oftentimes, they don't even leave notes in the cases about why they charged something, how they charged it, what they considered. So those are things I really want to change so that we can really prioritize prosecuting repeat offenders, serious offenders, and violent offenders. Those are my top 3 priorities.
All right, we will go into details of priorities in a bit. State of California is called Sanctuary State. And so the county of Santa Clara, right? I don't know if my belief is correct or not, but the question is there a correlation between homelessness, criminal activity versus being a sanctuary state and county?
I think being a sanctuary state and county can definitely contribute. I'm not saying that anybody who is here illegally is committing crimes all the time. That's just not true, right? But there are people who are here illegally and also commit serious and violent crimes.
And then what?
And then they stay, or they're deported, and then they come straight back. And it's like, okay, when it comes to these types of offenders, especially the most serious offenders, we have to put our foot down. We can't just say, oh, you can just stay here and come back a million different times. If you keep coming back after you've committed serious crimes, we should deport you. Like, you have already demonstrated to our community that you're not going to respect our laws. You're going to hurt our community. And even when you're kicked out, you still disrespect us and keep coming back.
Right.
That's not acceptable. You know, I come from an immigrant family. My parents immigrated from Korea. And a lot of people in our community come from immigrant backgrounds. So I have a lot of sympathy, a lot of respect for immigrants. I think immigrants work really hard, sometimes even harder than people who are already established here. But everybody has to play by the rules, right? So if you're here, right, whether legally or illegally, at the very least, you need to respect the laws. And you cannot be breaking criminal laws and causing serious harm to other people. That's just not acceptable.
So what will you do to change that part? Because right now, we are Sanctuary County, and we don't cooperate with ICE, federal court. So what will you do to change that part?
So I can't change laws because my role is law enforcer, right? Lawmaker is the legislature, right? They have the power to change laws. However, cooperation with federal agencies is something I can work on. Right? I don't think the current DA does enough cooperation and collaboration with federal agencies. When federal agencies get proper warrants, they go to courts, they get the proper documents, and they tell us we need to deport this person, as long as there is no law or sort of regulation prohibiting me from doing that, I think we should cooperate. We should collaborate. You know, there was a mass shooting last year, and one of the things that the current sort of system blamed was, oh, how come the federal government didn't tell us about this and this and this? And it's because, well, you haven't been working with them over the times. If you want federal cooperation and information sharing, you need to build those relationships over time. If you always exclude them and say, oh, we're not going to work with you, oh, we're not going to follow your subpoenas or your warrants, then why would they share information with you? Right? So in order to share information and protect our public, I think we need to work on local, state, and federal level. We need to all collaborate because each branch of government has different rules and different information, different budgets, and I think we work best when we work together. So if it's the federal agencies, let's work with them.
Sound like a plan. Sound like a plan. Yeah, I'm a man of law myself. I believe like we have done a good job of cooperating. Yeah. And make sure that criminals stay at bay, you know, or prosecute them, or keep them in jail. Whatever you need to do to make the society safer. Yeah. Switch subject a little bit about homelessness. Yes. Right now, we have about 10,000 people that don't have home in county of Santa Clara. Yeah. 6,700 people, 6,700 people are in San Jose. Wow. Okay. I know you're not going to fix everything overnight. Right. But at the DA, as the office of the DA, the highest level of prosecution in the county, what can you, if you're elected, bring to the table? Yeah. So one is, we should always have compassion and sympathy for the homeless. I think most people don't want to be homeless, and they are in those situations because of a variety of life circumstances, right? They lost a job, they have broken families, they got addicted to drugs, they have mental health problems. A host of issues made them homeless, so we should really have sympathy for them. However, if you break the law as a homeless person, you don't just get a free pass because you're a homeless person, right? There are so many other people in our community who are small business owners, middle class people, who they pay their taxes, they try to follow all the rules and regulations, and when they violate the law, we come after them, right? But why, when you're a homeless individual, are you not held accountable? That's just not acceptable. So when I'm a district attorney, I'm going to care about quality of life crimes. You know, if they're having difficulty with drug addiction and mental health services, I want them to go get treatment if possible. But if you're committing violent crimes, if you're exposing yourself to children, attacking them sexually, I had a case where a homeless guy lit another homeless guy on fire and killed him. It's just like, this kind of conduct, whether you're homeless or not homeless, unacceptable. Right? So when it comes to these kinds of issues, we have to hold people accountable again. Okay. I want to give people second chances. I want to try to help them get on their feet
and move forward with their lives. I would love it if there's no homeless people. I would love it. I don't like seeing homeless encampments, right? And I don't think anybody feels safe when there's just a whole bunch of homeless people roaming around, right? But I want them to really take responsibility also, right? There are so many free opportunities and services we can provide them, and they have to be willing to take advantage of that. Because if they're not willing to do that and they just want to keep committing crimes, I, as the district attorney, will put my foot down. Whether you're homeless or not homeless, if you want to keep disobeying the laws, then you're going to be held accountable.
I just learned earlier today that the county released 3,000 criminal early.
Yeah.
Last year, this year, or the year before.
Yeah.
Why? And will you make that the change on that issues?
So 2 parts to this. One, COVID was a special factor, right? So I understand that we don't want overcrowding in jails because at the peak of COVID, when we didn't have vaccines or we didn't know what was going on, it is very dangerous, right? And if I had a family member in jail, I would want to make sure there's proper social distancing and it's safe, right? But we're past the peak of the pandemic now, right? A lot of people are vaccinated. A lot of people know how to navigate COVID now. It's kind of like the flu, right? We're just used to it. It's endemic now. It's not a pandemic. So now, when we think about these offenders, we cannot just be issuing COVID policies anymore, right? If you commit a crime and you're a repeat offender or you have a violent history, if you're a threat to the public or to victims, we should be using bail. The current administration doesn't want to challenge judges. In 2010, they ran on a platform saying that it's un-American to challenge judges. And to me, it's like, what are you talking about? It is absolutely American to voice our opposition. And if judges are releasing dangerous individuals, we need to hold them accountable, right? And say, no, we're not going to tolerate that from you. You need to listen to us, right? We are the public. We care about our neighborhoods, and you cannot be releasing sex offenders and shooters and robbers and murderers back to our streets and just expect us to deal with it. That's not acceptable. So when I'm elected district attorney, I'm going to use bail in a smart way, right? For first-time low-level offenders, I don't think you need to stay in jail while you're awaiting trial. But if you've committed some serious, violent offenses and you have a history of not coming to court, we probably need to incarcerate you, right? For our safety and so that you come back to court and we can hold you accountable.
Okay, good. We have talked about criminal activities. We have a lot of criminal activity in the last few years. You laugh because everybody knows we have a problem, right?
Yeah.
Yesterday, my friend got robbed. My friend, not just my friend. I know a lot of Vietnamese people got robbed in the last few years, almost every week. My sister got robbed from a Costco a few months ago. She got dragged. The guy dragged her off for like a few feet down on the road. Wow! Because she didn't release the purse fast enough. They have an opportunity to do it, right? And so we know that we have a problem. We haven't really fixed the problem. So if you are elected as a DA person, official, what will you do? I would like to see more specific plans. Or maybe different plan that will make it better for us.
So there are 3 people running for district attorney this year, right? The current guy, a public defender, and me. I am the only candidate this year who is saying, almost in every circumstance, we need to be tougher on crime. We need to be tougher on crime, right? None of the other candidates are saying we need to be tougher on crime.
How?
So, when it comes to repeat, serious, violent offenders, you should go to prison. You should go to prison. And let me give you some concrete examples to show you how soft on crime it has gotten. When I was working in the DA's office, I would see a lot of violent felons, and I would see their rap sheets. Sometimes that's an inch thick. It's like a PhD dissertation of criminals or criminal acts you committed. It's like you could have gotten a PhD in the time you committed all those crimes. Insane. Also, when I see their histories, I see, oh, you committed 9 felonies in the last 3 years. Probation, 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 probation. I'm like, this is insane. right? It's one thing to give second chances or third chances to people. 9 chances, 10 chances.
Sometimes 18.
How about not? How about not? That's absolutely unacceptable. Here's a very concrete example of a case that shocked me. Violent felon. He committed 3 armed robberies with a real gun. In his 3rd robbery, that witness came in and was like, "Oh my God, I'm out of here. I'm running away." Guy started shooting at him multiple times. Thankfully, he didn't hit him. So attempted murder, 3 robberies charged. Okay, I think this is easy prison case. You should go to prison. You almost killed somebody because you wanted to get away with 3 robberies. The current administration wanted me to consider dismissal. Dismissal with a special interest group. Absolutely insane. I'm like, I don't care how special that special interest group is or how much money they have donated. This is a prison case. You're shooting at people with a real gun and you're committing 3 robberies. You should go to prison. We're not even close to dismissal. It's not a misdemeanor either. It's not a probation case either. But the fact that I was asked to meet with the special interest group to even consider something even close to a dismissal offended me. And I was like, this is insane. This is how soft on crime we have gotten over the 12 years. Someone needs to run and challenge this status quo.
All right. Sound like a plan. I think we touched base a little bit on the releasing on the criminal back to the street already. So I think we can skip that question. What do you think about Prop 47?
Oh man!
Can you explain the reasoning behind that? Who came up with this idea, and what can we do to fix it?
Yeah. So Prop 47 was called the Safe Neighborhoods and Schools Act.
Sound like a good name.
Everybody would want that, right?
Yeah,
Who would not want that?
Uh-huh.
I agree with the spirit of that, right? The problem was people got tricked. And now property crime is going up like crazy and violent crime. And one of the saddest things is that the current administration went out of their way with George Gascon in LA to push for Prop 47. They were the only 2 pushing hard for this. And now we're seeing the disastrous results. You see retail crime, you see those strings of robberies that are happening, and we can't hold them accountable anymore because one of the things that it did was it raised the limit, right? To $950 now.
Yes.
Right? So it has to be $950 in order for it to pass into a felony.
I'm about to mention the $950, but you already mentioned it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So it makes it harder for us to prosecute people. And before Prop 47, if you were a repeat offender, serious offender, or a violent offender, we had tools available to hold you accountable because you don't just get to keep repeatedly committing thefts. At some point, it should turn into a felony.
Right.
We don't have that discretion anymore.
Okay.
So what we need to do is we need to modify Prop 47 so that prosecutors have discretion, right? I'm not saying that every shoplifter should go to prison. That's not appropriate either, right? But if you are committing shoplifting, if you have knives and guns and you keep doing that, you threaten people, and even after getting 2 or 3 chances, you keep doing that, at some point you should go to prison, right? That is something we should seriously consider. But I need to have the power to do that, and currently Prop 47 limits that power.
Okay, so what can you do to change that or influence that?
So that will have to come from a legislative democratic process.
Okay.
And one thing that distinguishes me from a lot of other people is that I take my limitations of power seriously. Okay. I don't think the DA should be able to make law or ignore law. Our job is to look at the law currently and enforce it to the best of our ability, just as we promised to do.
Okay.
I think it's the responsibility of our legislature and the public to pressure the legislature or to pass initiatives to change these kinds of processes. So I can help, present facts and examples and put public pressure to try to enact those changes, but I need the public's help. I can't do it on my own. So I'm happy to advocate for changes, but the change ultimately needs to come through a different branch of government.
I think that's a misleading between misunderstanding in the audience, in the general public, that the police, the sheriff department don't prosecute the people that with $950, and they I actually think that why did they come with this plan? But it's actually come from the state of California, which is essentially the Prop 47. So if we need to change that, audience, voters, we need to influence your state assembly person, or state senator, to tell them that we need to make a change.
That's why electing those people is so important, right? Obviously, you should care about who your DA is, but you need to also care about your lawmakers, because those are the people who are going to vote when the bills come to their desk, and they have to be held accountable to the voters. When they come back to Milpitas, Gilroy, Palo Alto, whatever, the voters are going to be angry with them and be like, why did you do that? Why did you pass something?
You should be angry about it.
Right, exactly. So that's why it's so important to choose these people carefully and really be informed. I just want more people to participate and be informed. You don't have to vote for me. I know a lot of people want to vote for me, but you don't have to vote for me. Everybody is entitled to whoever they think will best represent their interests, and be informed. Figure out who it is. Who has the integrity, the competence, and the compassion that I want in my elected leader. Look for those qualities and vote for that person, whether it's me or someone else.
Speaking of voting, why should we vote for you? But the bottom line is, why should we vote for you?
So I think it's time for change after 12 years. I don't think anyone's satisfied with how things have been going. And I am a career prosecutor who is committed to prosecuting crime. Like I said before, I'm going to fight hard for public safety, victims' rights, systemic changes. I'm going to enforce laws. Can you believe that? I'm going to enforce laws and pursue balanced reforms. And the other side of this is, at the end of the day, we talk about all these issues theoretically, but I really care about people and their struggles, right? I believe in redemption and second chances, but justice also requires accountability. So I'm committed to restoring justice and uplifting people in our community. And that's why I think voters are going to vote for me, because they see that, wow, he's young, but he's dedicated. He's very passionate about criminal justice, and he's going to do what he said he's going to do, right? Having that integrity, having that competence, having that compassion, I think that's what sets me apart. And that's why I hope people will vote for me.
That sounds good. That concludes our Q&A sessions. On behalf of the Vietnamese in San Jose organizations, thank you for your time. And I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.